Another thing to note, now that I've moved this up here to the right, is that if you open MicroStation and you had your tasks pinned over here on the left, what I did was I just hit this little pin and docked them on the left as a flyout. This gave my screen a little bit more real estate to work with so that you can see more clearly what I'm working with here. Alright, so we've opened our existing ground surface. So I'm going to go to the Surfaces tab, and I notice that my existing ground shows up here in my surfaces list. If I select it, we see all of the features over here on the right that are a part of this surface file. So there's triangle data, as well as random feature data, break line feature data, and other types of features. In order to view any of these features, we're going to use the Surface menu and the View Surface tools. So under the Surface menu, the View Surface tools, we have View Surface Perimeter, Triangles, Contours, Features. There's a whole lot of viewing options for you. These first three or so tools are the ones that you're going to use most commonly. Let's view the perimeter. We want to view the perimeter of the existing ground surface, and we're going to hit Apply. This views the perimeter. We notice that there's a fill on this view command, and that is a MicroStation graphics issue. Up here in the first icon in our view window is the view attributes. I'm going to hit this down arrow and uncheck the fill. Now we see it's a dashed line just like we want to view it as. If you don't have this icon bar here, what you go to is you go to Window, View Toolbox. So your screen may look like this initially or by default, but you can hit this Window, View Toolbox, and open it back up. So hopefully you are now looking at the perimeter of your existing ground surface, which should look identical to mine. We can close this dialog because we've already viewed it. Alright. Some other viewing options we have are to view the contours. So View Surface, Contours. Again, we're talking about our existing ground surface here. As you can see, we can also look at the default surface, but we know that there's nothing in there. So the existing ground surface has a default interval set to 2 with 4 minors per major contour line. This is the symbology down here, so these are the way that these different contours are going to be displayed. Let's hit Apply and see how this looks. So if I zoom in here using my scroll wheel, we can see the major contour lines and the minor contour lines in between. If I change my interval to say 5 and hit Apply, now we see that every 5 feet there's a contour line as opposed to every 2 feet. So there are fewer lines in our contour list. Or you can play around with this and change either the minors per major down to say 2 and then move that back to 2 as well. Now we see more major lines with 2 minor lines in between. I'm going to close this. Alright, next what we're going to do is look at the surface triangles. In order to view the triangles, we go to Surface, View Surface, Triangles. When you import a surface, you need to triangulate that surface before you actually view the triangles. So you need to create the triangles before you can actually view them if your surface does not already have triangle data in it. This does, as we can see down here in our surface, in our feedback pane of our surfaces, we see that there are triangles already in this existing ground surface. So I'm going to go to the triangle menu, and hit apply. It's processing, and this is what it looks like. Now, if this is getting a little busy for you, what you can go to, if I just close this out, you can go to the Update 3D Plan Surface Display command. This shows what is checked on is what is being displayed. So we first saw our perimeter and we left it on there. Then we looked at our contours, and so that's why that's checked on. And then lastly, we've now looked at the triangles, and that's why that is checked on. We can check off any of these and just view whichever ones are checked on. This is an easy way to manipulate the different types of viewing tools that we have all in one place. I'm just going to close this and leave our triangles checked on. Alright, so hopefully all of you are now looking at your surface and its triangle data. Now if I rotate this, we can see that it is in fact three-dimensional, but it is a relatively flat surface. That just goes to show that the three-dimensional, the elevation is in the triangle data because it comes across with the surface data. Now that I'm at a weird angle, what I can do is use my rotate view command. If I just hold down my left mouse button and go to my top view to go back to the plan view that we were working in before. If I go back and update my surface display and turn off triangles and then turn on perimeter and contours and close that, I can go to my tasks and use my element selection tool. So this is a microstation. These are microstation tools up here at the top. All of our InRoads commands are right here, but these are all the different menus that we have in our InRoads interface. But using the microstation tools, what we can do, I can select the surface here and either hit the delete key, or I can go to my delete element and it deletes that element. Now, as I said before, this is just deleting the graphics from our microstation display. That perimeter information is still saved and loaded in our InRoads file that we can always come back, surface file, view surface perimeter, and view it again. But that just shows you that you can always delete graphics from microstation using the microstation tools and still have that InRoads data in your InRoads files. Now that we know that that data is still in our InRoads file, no matter how we're displaying it, why don't we take a look at all of the data that is in those files? We can see here from our feedback pane that this is the information that is in the surface file, but another way to do that is go to the Surface Properties tab tool, and it opens up this dialog. This dialog is for the existing ground surface here, and it's displaying the data range and the data totals for the existing ground surface file. We see here a min, max, northing, and easting, as well as the minimum elevation and maximum elevation. On the right, we have the data totals of all of the features that are in our surface file. If you want a printable or savable copy of this information, you can go up here to the report. This report will save it as a text file with all of the information that's located in the surface properties dialog. And you can see here that you can either save or print. I'm going to close this out. So now we've opened a surface, viewed that surface, and reviewed the data that is in that surface file. That is all I wanted to touch on for the surfaces, and now I want to talk about geometry projects. So what we're going to do is go ahead and open up a geometry project. If I go to my geometry tab here, we can see I just have the default geometry project that is open. What we're going to do is we're going to go up to the file menu and go to open. Remember, our geometry projects are the .algs or alignment files. So we're going to open this cooperstreet.alg file. Click open, We can see that it opened down here in our status bar, and then click cancel to get out of our open dialog. Now in our geometry project list, we have Cooper Street as well as the default. You notice we just opened this one, so it is now active and it has this red square around it. Like I said before, that means that this is the geometry project that we're currently editing or have the ability to edit. If I click the plus sign next to it, we see that there's a couple different items underneath our Cooper Street geometry project. These are our vertical alignment, as well as the Maple Street alignment and our Kogo buffer. What we want to do is make our Cooper Street alignment the active alignment instead of the Maple Street. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to click on Cooper Street and then right click and say set active. So you see that red square now is outlining the icon for Cooper Street alignment instead of the Maple Street alignment. And down here in our status bar, it tells us that our active horizontal alignment is Cooper Street. You'll see when I highlight this that the vertical alignment that's underneath this Cooper Street horizontal alignment is underneath the Cooper Street alignment. I can click on the plus sign next to the horizontal alignment and see that vertical alignment that is also showing up here in the feedback pane. But now let's look at some of these alignments. First, what we're going to do is view active horizontal. In order to do this, we go into our geometry, view geometry. So just like the surface, view surface tools that we had, we also have geometry, view geometry tools under the geometry menu. View active horizontal. We can see here that it's in the middle of the surface that we were originally dealing with. Why don't we go ahead and hide all the surface information in order to view the horizontal alignment a little bit better. So I'm going to go into my surface, update surface display, and check off the perimeter and contours. So now we are just looking at the horizontal alignment.